So you have the 5 10mm bolts taken off of the inner fender liners, and then you just start from the front. You snap these off, and the whole thing just comes off very simply as a oneer. So there you go. It's very simple to take off the fenders and inner fender liners. Like I said, they're just 5 bolts. These 5 bolts right here. Take off the inner fender liner, and these clips that hold the fender flare onto the fender will snap. You're not going to reuse those anyway. And then you just start at the front, pop it, they'll snap, and they just come right off, work your way to the back, and as you saw, it just came off very simply and very easily. So the other side, the passenger side, you gotta also remember to disconnect the marker light and pull that off of the frame, off of the fender liner. I got a nice tool that comes in very handy. It's just a body tool, pops the little clips. I've already taken out the 5 bolts, and now you're going to hear me break these mounts. Just like that. Boom. 5 bolts, 1 light wire, disconnect it, pull them off. Just that simple to get your fenders off. Fender flares. Okay, rear fender flare. There is 5 little push pins that I used my tool that I had before. Just pop them off, 3 across the bottom and 2 up high. And that's the same as the front. You're just going to pull and snap the other clips off. And that's it. That's it for the rear. Easy. 5 clips, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then pull it off. Piece of cake. Okay, riv nuts or nut certs, depending on who you're talking to or depending on the instructions you have. This is the little nut cert tool that I made. All it is a bolt and a nut and a spacer and 2 washers. That slips onto and screws onto the riv nut just like this. And then what you do is you hold the nut like this, and you crank down the bolt. And as you crank down the bolt, holding the nut, it will tighten up and it will compress the end of inside of the riv nut to pancake this knurled portion right here against the metal body, which will look like this after it's been pancaked. Okay, so what you do is you put the riv nut into the body, just like that. Then you attach the tool, you crank it down, and it pancakes the knurled portion on the back side and holds this tight against the fender so that you have a solid mounting surface for the bolt to go through the fender flare and into this to hold it firmly to the fender. Okay, DV8 inner fender liners. First of all, what I had to do was that inset is held on by nuts and bolts. It's actually a 7mm and a 2.5mm Allen head. They're all loose. So first thing I do is tighten up those. The next thing you need to do is combine the two, attach the two together, making sure that the DV8 logo part is on the top, and that's going to be attached with another Allen screw. That's a 3mm. So I'm going to put a washer on. Put a washer on and drop those down inside there. Attach them so that it's one piece of equipment. Fairly simple, straightforward. Even though my camera skills are not the best. Too bad. Well, that was pretty good, considering I just did it one-handed. So that's it. You leave those a little bit loose until we get them completely installed. This interesting little component over here, what it does is it attaches to the inner fender liner right here, and it kind of banks itself against the firewall, so it attaches like this, and then you have to fit it in between the firewall and this panel here, and then it drops down and hits the fender wall, and then the two metals get pinched together. So I'm not sure why DV8 does it that way, but that's the way they do it. So you've got this here, and then once you've bit the fender liner up in there, it just flops down in between the firewall and the metal and holds it tight, just like that. So we'll get this one installed. Pretty simple, easy. You'll use your existing hardware for these two bolt holes right here and here, and there's supplied hardware for this bolt here and this bolt up here. You can use the existing on those, but the supplied hardware is stainless steel and looks better. It's prettier. These two holes up here, you don't see it, so I'm not going to use it. I'll be back when it's installed. Okay, I'll try to stay out of the way as I put all this together. So we've got it together. I'm going to slide it in. Pretty simple to slide in. Got one screw over here, and it goes into a factory slot. Two factory bolts, one here, and one here. Simple. This little flippity doodah mechanism over here, I need to bend around the firewall so that it drops back in. Which doesn't seem like it's too difficult, but of course it is, always. Loosen it up a little bit. Make sure this Every video I watched for this said the same thing. Pain in the ass. So. And it's not disappointing. It is definitely a pain in the ass. But I think I got it. So we got the two factory hardware, one non-factory hardware with the stainless steel goes in there, and the only other one we've got is right here. Slides right up into this factory hole. That's it. Crank it down tight. Crank these down. Easy peasy. Get this one over here, which I have a handy dandy drill with an Allen head on it. Punch it in there. It's just that simple. We're done. Nice and solid. That's all she wrote. DV8 inner liners.